Hey. Hey, Mary School family. I'm going to try this. I'm going to lean my phone up against my tissue box, and I'm going to read two books. I've got two books here. I'm here with my dog, and my bathrobe, and my box of tissues. I have a cough, which I am pretty sure is asthma. I'm going to the doctor today. So don't worry about me. And I will read. Okay, we'll see how this goes. There I am. Okay, so the first one is one of my favorites called Ox Cart Man. Now, I shouldn't have it in selfie mode. Oh well, we'll learn from this one. Okay, it's called Ox Cart Man. The pictures will look good backwards though. And it is by Donald Hall, and the pictures are by Barbara Cooney, and she's one of my favorite illustrators. So, Ox Cart Man. This is about the seasons. We're kind of between seasons right now. All right, in October, how are we going to read this? In October, the Ox Cart Man backed his ox into his cart, and he and his family filled it up with everything they had made or grown all year long that was left over. October, we have lots of birthdays in October at Mary School. He packed a bag of wool. I'm going to read it and then show you the pictures. He packed a bag of wool he sheared from the sheep in April. He packed a shawl that his wife wove on a loom from the yarn spun at the spinning wheel from the sheep sheared in April. He packed 5 pairs of mittens that his daughter had knit from yarn spun at the spinning wheel from the sheep sheared in April. So there's the bag of wool and the shawl, which is very pretty and plaid, and the 5 pairs of mittens in her apron, and the sheep. Hi, sheep. All right. I know how to knit, but I've never knit any mittens. I might learn to do that soon. He packed candles that the family made. He packed linen made from flax that they grew. He packed shingles that he split himself. Shingles are what you put on your roof. He packed birch brooms that his son had carved with a borrowed kitchen knife. Great. Putting all those things, there's the broom, stack of shingles, into the ox cart. He packed potatoes that they had dug from their garden, but first he counted out enough potatoes to eat all winter and enough to have seed in the spring. He packed a barrel of apples and honeycombs and turnips and cabbages and a wooden box of maple sugar from the maples that they tapped in March when they boiled and boiled and boiled the sap away. And he packed a bag of goose feathers that the children had collected from the barnyard geese. So there the geese are standing there. Their bag of feathers, the apples, the cabbages. So the geese lose their feathers, and the children picked them up and put them in a bag, and people could stuff pillows out of them. When his cart was full, he waved goodbye to his wife and his daughter and his son, and he walked at his ox's head for 10 days, over hills, through valleys, by streams, past farms and villages. Okay, so there he is walking away from his house, all the way past farms and villages, through the mountains. He had to walk because the poor ox couldn't pull him and all that stuff, until he came to Portsmouth and the Portsmouth market. So I think this is Portsmouth, Maine, which I have been to. They have really good lobster rolls there. So there's Portsmouth, market. Of course, this is a long time ago when people did not have cars. They had ox carts and they had horses, and he's giving his ox some water from a pump, which is very kind. He sold the bag of wool. He sold the shawl that his wife had made. He sold 5 pairs of mittens. He sold candles and shingles. He sold birch brooms. He sold potatoes. He sold apples. He sold honey and honeycomb and turnips and cabbages and maple sugar. And he sold the bag of goose feathers. So there he is. He's just standing there selling stuff. There's a little boy taking an apple. He must be hungry. He sold the wooden box that he carried the maple sugar in. He sold the barrel that he carried his apples in. He sold the bag that he carried the potatoes in, and he sold his beautiful blue ox cart. And he sold his ox and kissed him goodbye on the nose. What a nice ox. Good ox. He sold his oak. He sold his ox's yoke and harness. So that's the thing that attached the ox to the cart. With his pocket full of coins, he walked through the Portsmouth market, and he bought an iron kettle to hang over the fire at home. For his daughter, he bought an embroidery needle that had come from a boat all the way from England. And for his son, he bought a knife for carving birch brooms with. For his whole family, he bought 2 pounds of peppermint candy. There he is at the store, buying the knife. Then he walked home with his needle and his knife and the peppermint candy tucked into the kettle. He didn't have very much to bring home except money. And a stick over his shoulder stuck through the kettle's handle and still had coins left over. So there he is. Can you see him? He's walking with the kettle over his shoulder. Walk, walk, walk. Past farms and villages, over hills, through valleys, by streams, until he came to his farm. And his son and his daughter and his wife were waiting for him. Whoops. Okay, so there's a sunset. There he is. He's almost home. And his daughter took her needle and began stitching. And his son took his knife and started whittling, and they cooked dinner in their new kettle, and afterward everyone ate a wintergreen peppermint candy. And that night the ox cart man sat in front of his fire, stitching a new harness for the young ox in the barn. And he carved a new yoke, and sawed planks for a new cart, and split shingles all winter. And his wife made flax into linen all winter. So flax is something that you grow that you can make into cloth. And the cloth is called linen. And his daughter embroidered linen all winter, and his son carved Indian brooms from birch all winter, and everyone made candles. So you can spin flax on a spinning wheel. That's a spinning wheel that she has. She's turning it with her foot, and she's making thread, and then she can weave the thread on a loom into cloth. All the things they know how to do. And in March, they tap the sugar maples and boil down the sap. Boil, boil, boil. Bee knows how to do this with sorghum. So they've tapped the trees, they're boiling the sap. The brother's bringing wood to keep the sap boiling. And in April, they sheared the sheep and spun some yarn and wove and knitted. This is a sheep getting shorn, which is like a haircut. They have to be held still because they don't like it very much to get their hair cut. And then they look really skinny after they have their wool shorn off. And in May, they planted potatoes and turnips and cabbages, and the apple blossoms bloomed and fell, and the bees woke up and started making more honey. There they are, having their picture taken by somebody, us, I guess. Apple blossoms. Last year we didn't get very many apples. I hope we get apples this year. And the geese squawked in the barnyard, and they dropped their feathers as soft as clouds. And that's the end. Okay. Thank you for listening. I'm going to turn this off in case you don't want to listen to more than one book at a time.